We've all been hurt at some point, even abandoned. Many of us have done the hurting ourselves. We get to the point where we don't trust anyone, nor do we feel worthy of being loved by anyone. Then there's that one person who just doesn't give up on loving you. Their love is unconditional. Their love stays long enough for you to heal. And then they promise to never leave. That's love you can count on. God's love.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. David Evans of the PIC TV Network. Once again, we're happy for all of the people watching around the world on our news segment, our special talk show. We're so happy again for our part 2 segment of our news. Those who are watching around the world on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our special audience on the PIC TV Network. Those who are watching from Germany, France, Argentina, Nicaragua, United Kingdom, or Peru, wherever you're watching. We thank God for Germany. Dennis is over in Germany. Thank God for Burke. Burke is in Canada, and everybody else watching our special news talk segment. We're going into part 2. We have some special people on today with us. Everybody is invited to this celebration today. So tell somebody, tune in to our talk show right now, our news talk show on the PIC TV Network. This is a special time that we have to come together to pray, first of all, for our brothers and sisters who are impacted by the hurricane. This hurricane has impacted people's lives. There's so many families that has been impacted. And we had this special segment dedicated to those who are going through this crisis right now, America's emergency crisis. And so many people around the world right now are praying for America. And we want to send a love out to the first responders down there who's fighting to help save people's lives. A Red Cross. My sister Edie was a member of the Red Cross. Patty works for the Red Cross, and those FEMA, those police, and those who are working to help save lives, those officials down in New Orleans, Louisiana, everywhere whose lives are impacted. Well, today on our special panel, everybody knows Michelle Cox from Atlanta, Georgia. She is a soldier. She's also an anchor person on our news network. And Patty from New York is with us today. And we're so happy from New Orleans. We have Linda Williams with us today. Let's get right into it today. The whole world is watching and praying for those who are those who are watching right now around the world. For those these ladies, they've been on the news too long, y'all. They've been on too long. We sending a lot of love out to our brothers and sisters who've been impacted down south. Let's get right into it on today. While we were off, we were talking, Patty, you said something about thank God for those who helped build the levees to help save lives. Patty, I want you to repeat that for everybody watching right now.
Yes, so there's always a silver lining, and even though there was a catastrophe and terrible floods, last time with Katrina, 80% got flooded because over 50 of the levees were breached. Since then, 15 years forward, we have, the U.S. had put in $14.5 billion in seawalls, floodgates, pumps, and levees. And guess what? It made the difference. And even though we're seeing this terrible footage that you're going to show us, and it really, hits our hearts. But could you imagine if it wasn't for these new and improved levees that did sustain? Most of them sustained, a few of them a little bit damaged, but overall they did what they were supposed to do. So that means it saved a lot of lives, and that is priceless. Over to you, Dr. Evans.
Yeah, I want to get into this with Michelle, and I want to get into this with Ms. Williams, who's from down south. I'm from Washington D.C. I've been here all my life. I've been to New Orleans maybe twice at the Superdome with the Full Gospel Fellowship way back in I think the '90s, and I haven't been back. And I remember it rained so hard down there, and I was a little nervous because it was just raining real hard. I our brothers and sisters there, and you from there, um, Miss Williams, and also Michelle. It's different in DC. We know if it's rain, it's going to stop, and everything is not going to flood. Everything is not going to flood. But talk about down in that area where the low line is. Give us some history about what happens on the storm because of that area. Talk to us about that area itself. And I want you to just fill us in because some of us who haven't never been there, some of us who haven't been in a while, talk about just the area, Michelle. It's just the whole the area down there.
Well, Dr. Evans, when we're talking about New Orleans, we're talking about a location that's actually already below sea level. And so being built on a coastline is one of my favorite sayings, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Because when you have those storms, sometimes you get sand and you get deposits from the sea, and sometimes it takes a lot out. But because there's low-lying areas, that's why they don't have your traditional burial grounds. What we have is mausoleums and things of that nature above ground, because you can't put anybody in the ground there because the vaults won't last because of the deluge of water. The other thing is, while some of the levees held, there's still a lot of areas, especially areas that where people of color live, that have not been built up, that were not rebuilt since Katrina. Linda, can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm going to hand it over to you.
The Ninth Ward, a lot of our historical areas, that land, a lot of the homes in that area, true, they have not been rebuilt. They were destroyed, and at one point, let it be green. And what I think most people did not realize is that that's where your workers live. Those people who served in restaurants and who supported the tourism industry down in New Orleans, that's where they lived. A lot of the people who had homes in that area that were destroyed, those were not people who were paying mortgages. Those were people who were living in homes that had been handed down to them through generations. And so that's why, almost 250,000 people did not return, not solely why, but that's a part that contributed to it. That area of the city is, it's known for its culture, it's known for its history, and that's the part that they didn't want to bring back. Because of where it was located, it was just best to wipe it out. And there have been some rebuilding efforts, but there are some areas in that region that look like the storm happened yesterday. And I'm not talking about Ida. I mean, Katrina just happened yesterday. So yes, it's very true. And at one point, they were even having tours. They had tour buses that were going through those areas that were making money, looking at the damage and people's lives and homes being destroyed. That was an attraction.
It's amazing when we look at this situation that's going on and impacting people's lives around the world, and it's real. This was why I came on Clubhouse on the other night, and I started pray for New Orleans. We're praying for New Orleans, and that's why Linda came in, and she was just touched by the subject and came on, and we invited.
That's correct. We had to, number one, not only pray for our brothers and sisters, but take this time and show them our support. And Linda, it's been amazing having you on the broadcast because you are a recent occupant of New Orleans, and just like you and me, you have family there. But I'm sure that you've probably been there to visit family recently for the folks that have stayed. So your input and your outlook has been most invaluable. Now, can you tell us some of the other areas that might have been affected that no one thinks about? Because a lot of people think about New Orleans, they think about Bourbon Street and, you know, those places, but they don't think about the crisis that we have for people that are outside of the immediate city, that are not in the well-to-do areas. They're not in areas where people should care about them.
Well, the first thing I wanted to say, the thought was in my head, and then it flew right out. But it was about those how people are treated based on, you know, the various areas that you're from. When Hurricane Katrina came, you know, we lived, our family home was uptown, but I lived closer to where the levees were breaching. And one of the things that I've noticed since then is that there has been what I will call gentrification into the area where our family home is. We've actually had several offers for, you know, the home. The structures of the homes that are being rebuilt are not being rebuilt, in my opinion, with the culture and the history of the city in mind. I mean, you can have one house that has the traditional shotgun configuration, and then you'll have a home next to it that's made out of containers. And, you know, that's challenging for me. Every time I go home, I get lost because in New Orleans, you don't know street names per se, you know landmarks. And so I traveled before by landmarks. And now when I go home, those landmarks aren't there. So I'm turning on streets. I have to use a navigation system in a city that I was born and raised in until 2005. Those are the types of things that, you know, are difficult for me to deal with. A lot of the older stores and restaurants and things that made neighborhoods have been moved, you know, just out of the area. And that those things are difficult to see. It's difficult to see. It is not the same city that I grew up in. One of the things that I think is most telling is that before you could tell certain areas that were, you know, high in crime, and you knew, you know, you were always given a warning to stay away from this place or that place or this place or that place. But with Katrina and with people coming back into the city, that area no longer really exists. It's everywhere. You know, there is no what we would have called safe spot. And so that's one of the, you know, we lived in uptown New Orleans. About 2 years ago, a dead man was found in the yard of our family home. And he had been there. It was on the news. I'm watching the news here in St. Louis. It made national news. And I'm watching the news. And I said, man, that house looked familiar. And then I looked a little bit closer and I said, that's my house. That's where I grew up. And all I could see was police cars and detectives. And, you know, initially I'm thinking something's happened to my brother. So I pick up the phone and I call him. And he says, no, they found a dead body in in the yard, in the side yard there. And so I would never, that would never have happened, not in the place that I grew up. So yes, it is it's a culture shock.
Amazing. When we look at the situation that's happening around the world, we have to be our brother's keeper. We have to watch out for each other. And this is why we have the PIC TV network here on today. For all of you watching, we're going to show you some footage of the hurricane, and some may be graphic. You may want to cover some of the faces of the kids, but this is real. And I want Michelle and also Patty and Linda to chime in a little bit about what they see and the impact that's taking place. And again, we're praying for everybody who are the worst rescue workers down at this particular time. So let's just look at some of the storm. And again, I can imagine people who have to run for their life, escape for their life. So let's go into some of the footage. When you see this, it's unbelievable. The roads are just washed away. Linda, you know how it is to try to escape and ride 18 hours on the road. Was it day or night when you was riding down there, Linda, to escape?
It was both. It was both, because it was really 23 hours. We left at 9 o'clock Sunday morning, and we did not arrive at our hotel until about 8 o'clock Monday morning, 7 or 8 o'clock Monday morning. So yeah, and what we rode through were the feeder bands of Hurricane Katrina, and they were strong as we were riding through. We came north. I mean, we went to Texas first. So the further away we were able to get, we got out of it, but it was a long time before we got out of it.
Well, Michelle, you mentioned that the low lying of the water in the city and the levees. Michelle, talk a little bit about what you see.
Well, because of this, New Orleans is already below sea level. That's one of the reasons they had to build levees to try to keep the water out. So when they have these large hurricane storms or torrential rains, there really is nowhere for the water to go once they escape the levees, and they start collecting and pooling. And as you can see, that person right there probably has a 4-wheel drive vehicle to help get them out. But most cars, when they're in that deep water, what will happen is they'll stall out. And I've seen people actually get swept off roadways depending on the current and speed of the water. But
wow.
These things, when we talk about hurricanes, and this affects Southeast, but the coastal areas, the Gulf of Mexico, this is something that, has been prevalent for a while. And we can't not talk about global warming because the storms are getting worse. They're getting closer together. Hurricane Camille was in 1967-68. Hurricane Katrina was in 2005. So you're talking about almost a 50-year difference between the hurricanes. But here we are, 16 years later, and then we have Hurricane Ida. We really have to look at our weather patterns and how they come about. And to my brothers and sisters in New Orleans and everywhere, know that we're with you and we're praying for you, and we'll make sure that help is on the way. Dr. Evans, back to you.
Patty, you was talking about the Red Cross and FEMA and knowing how important it is, but it's bigger than them. They can't do it all by themselves, Patty.
No, they depend on volunteers. They depend on volunteers, and there's really never enough manpower. Volunteers and supplies, You know, they're easy to find. You could go on Twitter. They're constantly posting, but they're continuously looking for volunteers. There's even things you could do from your own home if you want to, you know, be a volunteer, and you could do virtual. You could do mapping, because mapping is another thing that helps the Red Cross. So people that are stuck in places like this, you know, with mapping, they could figure out ways to send them help, you know, and find roadways that are clear. And there's so much to it, you know. But you know, also what brings to mind when I see this, because again, we did endorse Sandy, and you know, even a hot shower. Even a hot shower, you know, you take for granted just being able to take a shower. So if you're in the region and you have a home, and you're listening to us, you know, offer your shower to your neighbor, you know. It's just one of those things that it's perspective, you know, like all of a sudden, like those little things that we take for granted, like a shower or a cup of coffee, are a big deal.
Yeah, I see. Linda's definitely touched. She's tearing up and crying because family is there, friends, places you grew up. It's a different hurt when you've been there. It's a different pain when you've been there. And you see that's my city, that's my community, that's my environment. When Michelle was talking about the water has nowhere to go. Michelle, what do people do? You don't have money to get out. You try to ride it out. You try to hold on. What do you do, Michelle?
You try to get to the highest point in the house. Sometimes you got to get on the house. It just depends on where you are, you know, and just try to survive. That's the only thing about people that are economically disadvantaged and, you know, poorer communities. They don't have the resources. And a lot of times, because they don't have the resources, they perish. And that's something that we have to change. Each and every one of us has to work to be better, to do better, to help our neighbor. And everybody's our neighbor, because we're only one catastrophe, one disaster away from, you know, this being one of us or our family. You know, I have family in the area. Linda has family in the area. Patricia went through Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Dennis, and the devastation, because think about, we're talking about your photos, your pictures, your memories. A lot of times you don't get to take that with you, and it all gets swept away. And so just sometimes families get separated, and it takes weeks or months for everybody to know, you know, if family members survived. That's why we have to be, number one, prayerful, and making sure that we're doing our best to help those in need. Linda, I'm so sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah, I know it's hard because Linda was talking to me earlier, and some of the things she haven't seen since Hurricane Katrina, you know, the being on the road for that many hours driving, you never forget it. It's never forgotten. I think this is one of the hardest news segments we ever had. We covered AI, we covered reconnecting the generation, we covered America's health crisis. I think this is one of the hardest news talk shows we have ever had, Michelle. But we have to let people know, you know, I'm sleeping in a warm bed tonight. I have air conditioning on. I can go to the ice box and open it and food, and then I can cook some food tonight before I go to bed. But somebody don't have that privilege tonight, Michelle. Somebody don't have that. You know, we surrounded by water and losing everything. I want Patty to talk about the psychological aspect. You know, just the mental aspect. You've been through 9/11.
Well, the one thing that we were taught in the Red Cross, and not I'm not in the medical field, but we were taught to listen, listen, and also ask, how can we help? And also, when somebody is sharing, their trauma, the last thing you want to say is, "Oh, that's terrible." We know that's terrible. We don't need to tell them that's terrible. We need to say, how could I help you? We need to say, who can we call for you? What can we do? Or just let them give them the space, just to share their heart. And sometimes just a moment of silence, of prayer, helps. But you definitely don't want to emphasize on the trauma, that you want to deflect from that, because that's the obvious. So we don't need to magnify it. But again, just the empathy, empathy and compassion. That's a big one. Over to you, Dr. Evans.
Yeah, I want to bring Linda back up for a second. And I know this is it's really tight for you, Linda, being there and seeing images. Some things you said you couldn't look at since Hurricane Katrina. Certain things, even when you're driving down the road today, 16, almost 20 years later, you still feel chills when you're riding down the road. Do you ever get over it, Linda? Is it ever goes away?
In 16 years, I can tell you no. I can tell you every time there's a hurricane in the Gulf, and they tell you a strength that creates a level of anxiety. I'm not there, and I have family there that I can't. I'm trying to do as much as I can, because in my mind, I'm still remembering 16 years ago. I had to call my brother. I don't know how many times I called him, but I kept asking him, "Did you do this? Did you do that?" And the last thing I called him to ask him before the power went out, I said, "Listen, did you all fill the bathtub with water so that you can flush the toilets?" And he went, "I forgot about that." So I'm constantly reminded every time I hear that there's a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, and that there's a possibility, that it could get to New Orleans. And the reason I shudder at those thoughts is because what most people don't understand is New Orleans is like a soup bowl. My sister Michelle mentioned it earlier. She alluded to it earlier, but that's why the water has nowhere to go. Because if you imagine a soup bowl, New Orleans is sitting at the bottom of the soup bowl. The edges around the soup bowl is the levee. You can take a ride in one of those river boats, and you will never see the top of a 2-story building because it's so far below sea level. And so when that water comes in, that's why when Hurricane Katrina happened, they had to literally close the city so that they could pump the water out. I had heard it, but it did not become real to me until I saw these men standing on the top of this wall, this levee, with a huge tube, and they were siphoning the water from the city of New Orleans and putting it back out into Lake Pontchartrain. Unimaginable.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think you never get over it. My daughter was 16. It was her senior year. She's 32 now. She's a mental health professional, and she acknowledges that there is still a 16-year-old girl that deals with Hurricane Katrina every single year during the last week of August.
Wow.
No, I don't think you ever get over it.
You know, when I hear you guys speak about this situation, it's so touching. That's why I went on Clubhouse and I started to pray for New Orleans prayer alert. And like Michelle said, we are brothers keepers. We don't know who's next, what city, what's next. I lived through 9/11, and I can still remember I was eating at the hot shop that morning, and they said 9:30 something happened. I was at our church at that particular time, and I went down and turned on the news, and I seen the plane hit. I couldn't believe it. And I was in DC, and I was like almost 15, 20 miles from the Pentagon. That shattered something. They thought it was an explosion, but that was the plane hitting. You know, to live through that, and I can still remember that moment. There's certain things that Michelle has talked about growing up, racial profile that she can remember as a kid. Certain areas she still wouldn't ride down, even today. We are our brothers and sisters keepers. We do need each other. We need the PIC TV network to be able to share stories from Melinda, to share stories from Michelle, to share stories from Patty. This is why we have our network up. We're going to take a commercial break and we'll come right back. Everybody, those who want to watch, and thank you, Dr. Blow. We see you watching from North Carolina, Stephen Evans, Hollywood, California. Thank you, Sandy, Lubbock, Texas. Thank you, Yolanda, down in Miami. Praying for those in Florida, all over. We're going to come back right after this.
Aretha Franklin. The Queen of Soul. We know her as this legend. But there's a story to everyone. Her life had so much depth to it, and it came through the music. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, take care, T-C-B.
The thing that kept coming to me was the idea of a woman who has the greatest voice in the world.
You're special, Ree.
But who still doesn't know what her voice is.
Until you find the songs that move you, you ain't going nowhere.
She wasn't born the Queen of Soul.
I need a change.
She became the Queen of Soul. And the journey is, how did she become it artistically and personally?
This song goes out to anyone who's ever felt mistreated.
She was able to musicalize her lived experience. And there's a handful of people on planet Earth that were given the gift of that sound. So when
new TV network you gonna be watching?
Pick TV.
Hey there, Mother Yvonne Edwards. Hello, how are you? I hope you are doing well. Now that you see my face, this is Miss Dorinda Clarko. I had to stop everything I was doing to make sure that I got this message to you from David Evans. Yes, I know you know him, right? Yes, he got in touch with me and told me, listen, Mother Edwards' birthday is actually coming up, and she will be 87. Wow, Lord, please let me live that long and more. Oh, thank you, Jesus. That is such a blessing. Mother, you are still here, and we already know it's by the grace of God that all that we've seen, all that we've witnessed, that God protected, kept you, preserved you for such a time as this, and allowed me to sing happy birthday to you. Well, instead of a happy birthday, why don't I do, when I look back over my life and I see all the things God's done for me, been through danger, heartache and trouble, I thank the Lord, He's rescued me. Yeah. I could have been dead and gone, but the Lord, He spared my life. Now we all can say that we're still here, and it's by the grace of God. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Mother Edwards. Happy birthday. Yeah. 87 years. Thank you, God. To you. Love you, Mother. May this be the best birthday.
Hi, it's Dana Evans from the Chicago Sky, and I just wanted to say congratulations to Dr. David Evans, we have the same last name, president of the PIC TV network, for spreading inspiration, information, and education and entertainment to people all over the world on Roku. Hi everyone, let's watch and support PIC TV. Go to www.thepictvnetwork.com.
Yo, what's up? This bruh man from the fifth floor. Yo, check it out. I want everybody to check out my main man, David Evans, and the Pick TV network. It's all that. Check it out. Pick TV got like about 60 free channels on Roku. Pick TV gonna soon be celebrating 1 million viewers. And y'all welcome to party with us, because we be checking it out and it's all free. 60 free channels. You ain't got to worry about that cable. So y'all check them out on www.thepictvnetwork.com and check it out. I might invite y'all over to the fifth floor and have a whole lot of serb sandwiches with you. So it's Pick TV on Roku. I got Roku. I got Pick TV. It's all that. Peace.
Hey, that was bro man from the hit show Martin. Millions and millions and millions of people have saw him on Martin, and he would come up from the fourth floor and do his thing. Actor, comedian. And I want to thank him for coming on the Pick TV network, giving us a shout out. That's real big. And also Dana Washington, she plays professional basketball, WNBA, Chicago. Having her to come on and give a shout out with this big. So we're growing. We're getting ready to do something great. And I'm so happy again for you guys who've joined us on this broadcast. This is a special broadcast, special presentation we did to let everybody know who've been impacted by the hurricane that we are praying for you. And we're going to do everything in our power to try to help you as time opens up. and things going back to adopt a family, to give out some gift cards, to have a love box sent to those who are in need, to do whatever we can. And it was so touching to see that Linda, who's on with us, who's from New Orleans, her heart feels so heavy because she knows people there, family there, and help is on the way. With God, all things are possible. And I know a lot of things we don't understand, but at the end of the day, God is still God, and he's still on the throne.
Amen.
And we're still going to trust him. We're still going to believe him. So we're going to close this segment out, and we're going to come back again on the next segment. So those who are watching, thank you for tuning in. Come right back. We're just going to set this segment down, and we want you to be encouraged, inspired, and let you know PIC TV Network is here to help and support any way we can, because we believe that we are our brothers' keepers, and we're going to be there for each other, and especially for you.
Amen.
Let's wave, everybody. Bye-bye.
Juneteenth. It's a holiday often called the Black 4th of July. It's celebrated with cookouts, festivals, historical reenactments, and it's one of the most important days in African American history. Juneteenth celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. You see, the U.S. Declaration of Independence stated that all men were created equal, but this didn't apply to black slaves. The move to end slavery didn't happen until Abraham Lincoln issued a law in 1863, almost 100 years later. But the news took more than 2 years to reach all parts of the country. The state of Texas was the last to find out. On June 19, 1865, 250,000 slaves were freed in Texas, marking independence for all Americans.